You are officially in the loop. Welcome to In the Loop podcast. I am your host, Jordan Jo Hollabaugh, professional rodeo athlete, entrepreneur, and a full-time cowgirl. I'm married to my best friend, and we are blessed to get to do what we love every day, and that is travel around the world and rodeo. My goal on this podcast is to promote the Western industry and specifically the sport of breakaway roping. On In the Loop, we bring you behind-the-scenes stories of what real life looks like every day from cowgirls, cowboys, industry leaders, producers, trailblazers, and all of the like, sharing stories of the Western culture and the lifestyle that they live daily. You are now officially in the loop. Let's get to it. Okay, welcome back to another episode of Java with Jordan Jo. I am here with the Coleman Proctor. Thanks for coming to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, and thanks for the sweet cup.
Cheers.
I'm so excited about that.
We got our little Yeti cups, Java with Jordan Jo logo. Come by and you can grab your own. I have a bunch of them. So what does it look like this year? You've got lots of stuff going on. You are the Purina pregame co-host, yeah, with Mr. Luke. We put you first and then Luke second sometimes.
I like the way you do that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a team player here.
I love that.
So what does it look like? Last year I got to experience, maybe it was 2 years ago, you jumping off the stage, doing the splits, taking your hat off and challenging a fan in the dance zone.
Okay, first of all, the dance was actually challenged to me.
Okay.
And
Legit.
you know, when you're called out like that and we're in the moment, we got the juices flowing. I've gotten to hang out with Luke. We're talking about being a champion, charging that front, and then somebody says they want to dance off. I mean, I'm going to bring it.
Yeah.
And you know, it's one of those deals you just look back on, and we now have welcomed my third daughter, Sterling Grace, around. So I'm not saying it had anything to do with that, but you know, it also didn't. I mean, when I get on that dance floor and I get to moving, you know, magic happens.
Motion comes out of the ocean.
Absolutely.
Is what you're saying. So do you wear bigger Wranglers for that to prepare so you don't rip, or
I'm definitely
what goes into that?
I'm definitely an active wear guy.
Right.
You know what I mean? But luckily with my how tight I keep my dad bod,
Right.
usually the pants are the last things to go.
Yeah.
I didn't blow a button, and I'd actually undone my my sport coat.
Yeah.
So it made it all work.
Yeah. I mean, I was impressed. You won the dance challenge.
Oh, 100%. But you know, I took ballet when I was in the 7th to 8th grade, and that's a little known fact, and it is really true because I got really tall really fast, and I had read somewhere in a book that Barry Sanders had taken ballet as a kid, and he had really good coordination, and it actually didn't really help me that much.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how's that working out?
In the starting center position for the Miami War Dogs 7th grade team, but you know, it did. I have stayed pretty flexible. Like I can stretch out pretty good and do things, and I also took swing dance. So you know what I mean. I got a little rhythm, got a little moves.
Well, and I mean, you just came from home. You were pretending to be your own nanny. You got 3 amazing daughters, amazing wife. You are the superhero dad of all times.
I don't know about that.
You are. I asked your wife, Steph, I'm like, what is one thing the girls would say about their dad? And they're like, probably dad, rodeo cowboy, you know, a little bit in between. But she said, I think he's a superhero dad.
Oh, that's really sweet of her to say. I don't know how much you paid her to say that, but no, she's an amazing mom. And I tell you what, you know, those 3 little girls, they're the whole light of my life. I mean, honestly, that's the whole reason we do this. You know what I mean? It's gotten fun now where, you know, they're in school and there'll be, you know, there's so much more technology nowadays. And like the other day on the smart board, they watched a video that the Cherokee Nation actually done about us on OCO TV, and Stella got to see her, you know, she was on there as well, and her sister, and then her dad, of course. And you know, she's proud of me, and they're kind of proud of all your accomplishments. They're excited to go to Vegas. They're getting to the age now they kind of understand more. When I leave in June, you know, it's like, oh, Daddy, I don't want you to go. And it's like, well, baby, I don't want to go either. But if we like going to the Las Vegas and the Nevada, as they call it, for those 2 weeks, and this is just part of the job.
Right.
So that's what I want to be known as, a really good father first. So I'm really glad that that's what got brought up.
Well, and I've seen that, you know, and I talked to Steph and got a little insider info, but 9-time NFR qualifier this year. You also did another event they call steer roping, and were quite successful at it. So you're what they call an all-around cowboy.
You know, it's kind of been a neat venture because honestly, I never looked at being, like, I never thought I would be a 2-event guy. And I always wanted to trip steers, but, you know, it just never really was coming together. And I was kind of always pushing it off because, you know, you're always hustling, trying to find the next great horse. I didn't feel like I had cemented myself as a guy that was making the finals every year and able to, make a living with this rope yet. And so then finally it was like, man, I'm not getting any older, or I'm not getting any younger, so we better try it out now while we can. And it's been great. It's been a lot of fun. It's gotten me some really cool prizes so far, getting to win, Cheyenne and join the ranks of like you up there wearing that
Very
awesome
cool.
buckle.
Very cool.
And then, Pendleton and of course like Dodge City and Weatherford. And there's just some cool places that I did good at that to win those awards. Those are ones you're always going to look back on and really hang your hat on.
Well, and I think, all jokes aside, everybody sees you, you're always happy, you're always funny, joking. You bring the room in together, but at the end of the day, you are handy with your rope. You have made a living with your right hand. Thank God you're not left-handed.
I know.
And
my left hand's terrible, actually. That's
thank
why
goodness.
I pay for a lot of training.
But you really have made a living with your rope. And one of the neat things for me to watch you in the last couple of years, especially as a competitor, last year when I asked you about steer roping, Lord.
You can still say steer tripping. Like we're close
Okay,
enough.
I didn't know
it's
if we
fine,
could say steer tripping.
Absolutely.
So steer roping, steer tripping. You said I get nervous.
Absolutely.
I said you get nervous. And you're like, yeah, I'm like nervous. I'm going through. So I want to know, do you still have those jitters from this year? I mean, just to see you progress and all of the accolades you won this year, what did those jitters feel like?
It's funny because for the longest time, like right before I would nod, it would just start closing in on me like this, just do. And I think it's just the uncertainty of like what happens after I catch this steer. And now I feel like I've ran enough cattle and I kind of am a lot more comfortable in a lot of the areas of it. Still get really nervous. I mean, it's an exciting event, but ultimately that's why we compete.
Mm-hmm.
You want to feel those nerves. That's what makes you feel alive. That's the reason we drive all night to get to run one somewhere. Is just to feel that. That's why Pendleton, Cheyenne, those rodeos that are a little different and they make your heart thump. Those are your favorite ones. So. Yeah, I still get a little nervous, but I'm now able to use that energy a little more efficiently and kind of, keep me on my task and be, focused and oriented, like where I need to be going with all that energy that I got built up here. And so it has been better. I still get really nervous, but steer tripping is just such an event that you've got to know when to hit the brakes, when to hit the gas, and that's what we're still trying to work through right now. Obviously we just missed the finals this year, and from a great group of guys. I mean, I think rodeo as a whole is growing. Introducing steer roping into the college division, I think, has made the steer roping get a lot more competitive.
Yep.
And it's getting to where it takes a lot more money to make it. I mean, this is the first year $40,000 didn't make the national finals. So, and that's great. That to me shows that the sport's going in the right direction.
Right. So how do you manage competitively competing at an elite level in both of the events? You're rodeoing with Logan Medlin, and I would think that was your first and foremost priority, and then you're also steer tripping when you can. So how do you manage the two?
It is really difficult, and Logan's been such a great partner, and he's so patient with me on so many levels. And I think the biggest thing is, in the beginning, I didn't want anything I was doing with my steer roping to affect my head loop. Like I knew I couldn't. Like I couldn't afford to lose my job just trying a new event out. And I tell you, I think Buddy Hawkins once said it best. He said the hardest part about starting something new this late in our career is learning to embrace the suck again, because you're not going to start out on top of the mountain, and you've got to get back in the dirty, and you got to figure out how to make it all work again. And it has gotten funny how I told my wife, I said, boy, I can't let this tripping affect my heading. But historically looking now, I've been tripping for 2.5 years, and we've gone into the finals in the top 5 the last 3. So, I feel like it's almost made me a better header, because it has given me some appreciation when you give me 3 legal head catches and I don't have this string tucked in my belt. It's so much easier to catch the steer. You know what I mean? So it has been fun.
So it's working for Logan's favor is what you're saying.
I mean, I kind of feel like it is. I try to explain that to him a lot whenever I'm like, hey, I know you want to enter this rodeo closer to the house, but this other one has steer roping, and we could go there
as a group effort. So as I was talking to Steph, and I'm talking about your roping, and I've watched you, growing up team roping, I've watched you evolve, and so proud of all the things you've accomplished. I said, if you could talk to Coleman and say one word about him, what would you say? And she said, I would call him passionate. And she said, he comes home, he maybe drives all night long, he is in there getting those girls' hair fixed, taking them to school, spending that 15 minutes of dad time. And she said, and then he's coming home, whether it's rain, shine, or indifferent, he's getting back after it, practicing. She said, he says, how do we get better if we don't practice? Which she did mention, she's also, partnered with you on that feed bill. So the 28 head of horses that you guys have, and the cattle, you know what I mean. She said, it's getting a little over the top. But she said, I just love him for that. Where does that passion come from? Have you always had that? Is that something you've developed?
I'll be honest, when I would go home in the fall and places like that, and be rodeoing, I'd have to work a job. So then you'd be out, I'd be working, your 9 to 5, 8 to 5, come home, you're wore out, you're tired, because we built metal buildings, so like I'd been walking the red iron.
Something.
Yeah,
Wow,
absolutely.
gotcha.
Build fence, like
Really?
very
That's where your
laborious
dad
job.
came from.
I mean, it's where it helps work it off a little bit, let's say. But they, you'd be tired, and like I'd, maybe go run 5 or 6 that night, or maybe 10 or something. Or it'd be real easy just to not. And then when you come up short as long as I did, and as many times as I came up short, that finally you start looking around at what the reasons are. And I hung out. I had great friends. Jake Long, obviously, has been the best friend of mine since we were little kids. And then he moves down here to Texas, and he's hanging out with Travis Graves, and then you see the way those guys are working at it, and you talk to Travis, like, hey, do you practice every day? He's like, absolutely, that's what we do. That's what we do. And I'll never forget showing up to Travis's house one day, and it's a beautiful place, and I'm like, man, how do you do this? Like, did you buy stock in the stock market thing they talk about? Or
and
he's
like,
like,
make money there?
And I'll never forget it. He looked right at me, and he said, you just got to win. You got to win every day. Right? That's exactly how he said it. And I've
said it
never
a little lower than that.
Forgot how he said that to me. And when I got the opportunity to go rope with Speed Williams, you learned right there like what it takes to be prepared and to be ready. Mm-hmm. And it really transformed my whole life and my career. And so now, that's just part of the grind. When we're home, that's what we're working on. Because I kind of have a little slogan, I guess. When you come in my arena, like when we hang out and we practice, like we're not trying to be good, we're trying to be great. You know what I mean? I don't want to be mediocre. This is something I'm very passionate about. I'm very competitive about it. I know people, they rib me a lot because I am happy. And I try to stay happy because I realize that there's been so many people sacrificed along the way for me to be here. And I remembered I was at Guyman, Oklahoma one time, and I'd been working hard and I've been practicing, and it's gone completely terrible. And I called my wife and I was like, I'm done complaining, because I always feel like every time I call her and she's at work, and then she's got to go get the kids and go to soccer and do all this stuff, and I'm over here at the rodeo and I'm like, I missed again. This is stupid. I don't want to do it anymore, right? So then I realized, like, she doesn't want to hear that, you know what I'm saying? Like, and you never know, like, when this rodeo right here, it might be the best one. I might be one steer away from making the best run of my life. So, like, why not be ready for that? You know what I mean? And then, unfortunately, in this event, you never know when, like, this might be the last one I ever run. So it's really changed my perspective on, competing and being ready and staying optimistic, because I'm a happy person, and, like, let's face it, you like being around happy people.
Yeah.
And so I want to be able to be the person that lifts it up and doesn't bring it down.
And you are that. Everywhere you see you, there's tons of people around you. You just attract people because you're that kind of person. So I applaud you for having that perspective. You helped me even this year as an athlete. I was going through one of those times, and I really wanted to have a pity party and break some rope cans. And I walked past you, and
That's
I'm like...
That's why I use rope bags.
Seriously, I've evolved to that, because you can really chunk those things, and it doesn't hurt them. But I said, hey, how'd it go today? And you smiled at me, and you said, no good. And I thought, man, what an awesome way. Like, do we want to lose? No. Does it happen? Absolutely. How do you fix it?
Absolutely. I say all the time, like, I'm either winning or I'm learning. Like, either way, I'm not losing. Because it's an expensive lesson every day. Some days we make thousands roping, and some days we pay thousands to rope. So you got to get something from it. And I always go back to, like, 2019 when I made the national finals. I have a chance to win the world. We'd had a great year. We'd won the American. My financial stuff had just really changed and came on, and we're sitting in a great spot when we go to Vegas, and I was revved up. I really want to try to win a gold buckle out there, and fell flat on my face. Roped the worst I've ever roped at the national finals, and I'll never forget leaving there, and I was heartbroken, sick, over it. Like, I go home, we got a bunch of ranching to do. I don't even saddle a horse. Like, I'm on a horse every day. Don't even saddle one. Both the girls were little, and I would just drive them around in the mom car all day at the ranch, just helping guys pin stuff. We bring calves, and I don't even get on a horse. I just wrestle them all day on the ground. So, I think that was my breaking point. And finally, I just told myself, I said, we're going to have to move past this somehow. Because for me, not making the finals was never as frustrating as having a bad finals. Mm-hmm. You go all year and you're looking for this big payoff, you're looking to do good. And when you don't, that can be very frustrating. And so I finally realized, like, man, all this is just a lesson. Like, it's just a lesson in what not to have done, mm-hmm. right? And so if I don't take from it now and go back out there and do better based off of what I've learned now. Like, when I went back in 21, the lessons I learned in 19 helped me have a great finals in 21, helped me bounce back. So then really in that perspective, like 2019, it wasn't a bad finals, it was needed. Yeah. That's evolved me into the competitor I am today. And so that's what I always try to think about, is like, I'm not winning, and I'm either winning or I'm learning, but either way, I'm not losing. Yeah.
Well, I love that perspective, and I think the more we grow as athletes, the more you have to choose that perspective day in and day out to be successful if you want to win every time, like TG says. So let's talk about Heisman, your horsepower. You just came off of the Indian finals. Right. You got a little prep pre-Vegas, roped there. You didn't ride Heisman. You rode your backup horse. He's a little high-strung, kind of like me. I love him, though. You have so much confidence on that horse. Tell me, when you back in the box and you have that confidence on your face, where does that come from, even though Heisman has all the quirks that he's got?
It's so funny. He gets a bad rap because honestly, like if you got on him and went to head one, you could walk in the box in the national finals and he would be a complete gentleman. It's just us together, you know what I mean? Like I almost sold him the Tuesday before. I won $500,000 on him. I had him for sale for $30,000, and the guy was coming back to look at him again. And then we won the American. My wife's like, no, we're never selling him. I'm like, great, now I got to put up with him. And what's so funny about that horse is, like, the first year I'd missed the finals in 18 with him, I went to drag calves with a guy, and I'd never done it, and I wanted a horse I knew was broke. And I walk in, no tie down. He's the quietest horse in the dragon pen. Like, he is really a quiet horse. It's just when our energy gets together, man, something in there, it's like, I tell Steph all the time, she's like, man, he's really messing with you tonight. I was like, no, like, he genuinely knew I didn't need to nod my head yet.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of times that he's pecking with me, but, in the beginning, somebody asked me, like, does that not embarrass you? And I'm like, it embarrasses the fire out of me. Like, I wish he would just walk in here, let me swing my rope, walk forward, back him up to the corner, and nod my head. But he doesn't, and so finally, Tiffany Wagner, the girl that helps me all summer, she'll help him at the finals, and in fact, she rides him. Like, that's her job, is to take care of Heisman. I step on him and run my steer, step off of him. Like, that's all I'm allowed. And she told me one time, she's like, Coleman, I know he irritates you, and I'm sure you irritate him, but let's just take the things that we love about each other and forget the things that irritate us. And I'm like, man, that was the greatest thing she ever said, because right after that, I won good at Puyallup on him. Logan and I go to make the finals the first year that year. I rode him at Pendleton, and I got to where I could rely on him. And I think when you got a brother in arms like that, you can deal with some shortcomings, because I always say about Heisman, like, what he does on his time, that's his business, man. When he's dancing around being silly and I'm kind of focusing on the steer and wanting to nod my head, like, that's his time, so we'll deal with it. But when I hit the corner and I load him up and it's go time, like, that's my time. And he's always there, and he's always on point for me. He always gives me a great start. And I think at the national finals, when you look at trying to win a world title, like, you've got to get a great start for 10 nights in a row.
Absolutely.
And he is such a weapon there. And I've really tried to do good at keep him in the places where I am confident on him, and he's very confident in his job. And, I'll ride him at the finals, and I'll ride him through the winter, and then after that, he gets a lot of spa treatment.
That's what your wife was saying. He goes to the spa.
Absolutely.
You bring him back. Tiffany is taking care of him, getting him ready.
Yeah, she has to warm him up.
Yeah.
She has to do it all. Like, I mean, he is Tiffany's horse when we get to the finals, because, like, their energies match well.
Right.
And she pampers him and takes care of him, and hey, it's been working, so we're just going to keep it rolling.
Well, and talk about being on point. Let's talk a little about your feed program. Obviously, we both feed greatness.
Absolutely.
All your horses are so different from what they require, as far as Heisman being a little spa boy, kind of like you, Princess.
Yeah, there we go.
Steer roping horses. You've got your main two lineup of head horses. You've got these young horses at home that are bringing up. You've got old horses that are, retirement in Coleman Proctors, La La Land over there.
Yeah, my wife said one time that our retirement pasture was too big, and I said, I disagree. Like, I hope it gets fuller, because all these horses meant so much to me in my career that I could never see them not live their days out here.
Absolutely.
And that's one thing, like, that I love about Purina, is there's product for all the horses across the board. And, we're a very base, our base would be strategy, healthy edge, and that's what we give a lot of the horses, that with the great hay forage. It makes for a great diet, and you can increase and you can pull it back. Heisman really doesn't need to eat that much.
No.
Like we stay on the same lines that way, but then you can also increase it and not worry about getting one too hot, which I think is a big deal, especially we have a lot of barrel horses and that we try to turn into head horses, and so that is something you have to deal with a lot. We do have some mares and colts. I kind of slowed my mare production down after last year. I had a couple heartbreaking incidents with colts, so but I was big. I like when we get to into the colt end of it, the growth. Which one's the growth? The green bag.
Finishing them out.
Is it bad how you know the Purina products by the colors of their bags?
I just know the color of my bags.
But anyways, we like to use the growth.
They put the red one in there instead of the blue. It really hacks me. I feed Equine Senior Active.
So then, what I love about Equine Senior is that one goes good with any feed. Like, whenever you get on the road and, like, maybe I can't quite get Strategy Healthy Edge, they don't carry that, but they got Strategy, because everywhere track covers, they carry Strategy. And you can add a little bit of Senior, a little bit of Strategy, and you can kind of make back up for what you're trying to get out of the Strategy Healthy Edge. So it's been great, but we do the colt and the mare program with our growth, and then we do Strategy Healthy Edge for the most part, and then some of the older horses, they deserve a little bit of that Senior.
Senior Equine Active, man. And just Equine Senior in general. And that's one thing Logan and I talked about earlier, was you can literally get it everywhere you go, and that gives you confidence knowing your horses are going to be on the same feed program all year long.
Well, and instead of having to, I load up, we're gone for months on end, and having to just pack feed with me You know it's been certified fresh, leaving the mill, coming out here. We have confidence whether you're feeding it in the middle of Kansas somewhere, Oklahoma, or if you're in the northwestern part of the world. So anytime, forage levels are going to change, especially for season to season, but that checkerboard is always going to stay consistent.
Amen. Okay, let's talk about confidence in a couple sentences. If you were going to describe confidence, what would that be and why?
Man, honestly, I think it's just a belief in your process. When my preparation's great, my confidence is high. And I think the people that work the hardest often get the luckiest.
There you go. You got to have some luck on some form of it.
Absolutely. But I'm really blessed and highly favored. So I feel like a lot of luck's produced in the practice pen when we're trying to be great, not good.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, I'm going to finish out with some this or that questions, Coleman. Are you prepared?
Hit me.
Okay. Text or call?
Oh, definitely text.
Really? I figured you'd be a call guy.
I know, and it's funny because when I'm driving, I do like to call, but if you're ever trying to get a hold of me, text is always the best option.
Okay. I'll text you next time I need you.
Exactly.
Chess or checkers? Did you ever play either?
Okay, my mom taught me how to play chess. So I would say I used to love sitting down and playing chess with her. Although now my daughter's really gotten into checkers, and she wins. And
she
she's
beat you.
7. And like at first you're like, I'm gonna let her win. And then you're like, okay, that's enough of that. Like she needs to learn a lesson. And then she beats me. And then I'm like,
Again.
oh no, I'm beating her this time. And then she beats me. Like she gets up and walks around the board. It's really intriguing.
Really? Well, I'm glad to see the competitive nature is carried down through the lineage.
It's coming on down.
Cool. Coffee or tea?
Oh, definitely. Oh, I don't know, because I'm a both. I mean, I gotta have a good cup of coffee to get me going in the mornings, and then I drink tea in the afternoon. So
okay.
I'm split.
Salt or pepper?
Salt, if either. I don't use a lot of either one of them. My
Right.
wife over
Dad
salts and over peppers everything.
Of course. Let's blame it on Steph.
I'm telling you,
Maybe
I'm
you
a
should try
little
cooking.
Flunked out on that.
Okay. Earbuds or headphones?
Earbuds,
Beauty or brains?
beauty, and brains, all wrapped up into one, because that's what I married. Have you ever seen my wife?
I have seen.
See, that's what I tell people all the time. Like, this is the greatest
I
resume.
also wonder if you drugged your wife.
Well, she's a pharmacy person,
I
so
know,
if anybody's
pharmaceutical,
running
that's
this
what I'm
deal,
saying,
it's definitely could go the other
Okay.
way. No, but I sold this to her.
Oh.
So I'm like, man, when it's time for me to come out and get
If
a
you
real
can't win
job,
after that,
and I just walk in the office and they're like, what qualifies you to sell for Purina? And I'm like, I sold this to that. What more do you need? You know what I mean?
Spin for me, baby. Okay. Cash or card?
Man, I never have cash on me. Card all the time, pretty much.
Okay. And cookies or chips?
Ooh, cookies for sure. Look at me. Come on now.
Okay. Well, it's been fun. Congratulations on your 15th consecutive trip. The NFR.
This is my 9th, but it wasn't consecutive. But
15. Why did I say 15? Oh, because Luke and Coleman.
Luke, yeah, they're getting old.
Luke.
You know
and
Jake
Travis.
Long, he's gone like 14 times now. He said the other day, he's like, between the two of us, we have 23 of them. And I'm like, holy smokes.
Between Luke and Travis, they have 30.
That's crazy.
They're really old.
Well, Travis isn't that much older than me. He just had success at a lot younger rate. You know what I mean?
Well, at least he helped you to get.
I tell you what's so great though about
Sure
all those
that.
guys is it still feels for me like the first time he pulled into town. You know, there's still that excitement because I think back home or like in all of our minds, we're still just that little boy growing up wanting to make the national finals.
Well, and I think that's what allows you to keep competing at that elite level. So only 9 times. I'm sure it will be like 15,
Yeah, no,
20,
I'm not
30.
quitting until we get to at least a good.
Plus, we have the steer
another 12.
tripping that we can include in that. You know.
Yeah, let's start
future.
doubling up. That's what we need to
Double
do.
up, all around cowboy. Thanks for joining me with Java with Jordan Joe today.
Thank you so much for having me, and
Appreciate
thanks
it.
for the cup once again.
Wishing you the best at the NFR.
Thank you.